Have you started recording?
Yes, we are live.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Well, we sort ourselves out.
Hello, everybody.
It says live, but it doesn't say recording.
Yes, we are live.
Thank
No,
you.
it's recording.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Well, we sort ourselves out.
While we sort ourselves out, hello, hello, hello. Welcome.
Hey, everyone.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's so good to be here with everybody. How are you all doing? Today, we are discussing, let's have it unique. You always have it in front of you. Please tell me.
Self-accountability, how to be self-accountable. Meet your soulmate. May paraphrase this.
Self-accountability and how to meet your soulmate. I always hope that one of us is on the ball, but I think Unique is closer to it than I am. Let's see if I can find it. It's how self-accountability opens the door to our soulmate. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So welcome, everyone. And how are you all doing? Now, I'm joined by the two coaches extraordinaire. On my right, my digital right is Unique. Sibanda, give them a wave. She's the brunette today. Wave for the brunette. And on my left is the exquisite and very sophisticated Yvonne Green, who'll be bringing the class and the poise to the conversation. Thank you very much. And welcome, ladies, to today's conversation, today's discussion. So what can I say? Let's see who's on, because we have, I don't know if we should wait a little bit. I don't really like to wait. I'm one of these people that gets super excitable. Running a few devices here, so bear with me. I want to see what's going on here. Right, we have 6 people live. Hello, Latina Jones and Sherelle Grant. Welcome, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful swans. So wonderful to have you. Now, today we are going to be talking about some personal stuff, and maybe you can learn a thing or two from our personal journeys, but maybe it won't be personal. Maybe we'll be like scaredy cats and talk about our clients instead. Whatever feels more comfortable. It's been a very beautiful journey as we've discussed the Soulmate Attraction System course. And I know that some of you are so excited. I've been receiving emails in my inbox. Everybody's excited about being part of the journey. Many of us are really thinking and seriously contemplating being on the journey. And that has led me to really think about ways that we can help you all access this transformation, this life-transforming journey that we have kept a secret for very many years, actually, not knowing that it was a secret, because for us, it made absolute sense. It was common sense. And we just thought everybody knew until we realized, oops, I don't think people actually know how we bring about transformation here at the Black Swan Relationship Academy. So I'm really excited because I know that you're all excited about being a part of the journey. And for those of you who missed last week's announcement, I want to make it first before we get into our chit chat, because the girls and I, we can talk till the cows come home, and this is how you're joining our living room experiences.
Yes.
So, and there's all this excitement, and we love to share. But I want us to know, for those of us who were not here last week, that we are launching our first ever Soulmate Attraction System course group coaching. I am particularly very, very super excited about this group coaching because it really is at a wonderful discount. We don't really discount our services here at the Black Swan Relationship Academy. We actually have a problem with that. But on this instance, we are celebrating the beginning of the brand new start of this Soulmate Attraction System course journey, where we will take a journey together to self-discovery. We'll deal with our sabotage patterns. But what's going to make this particularly special is that we're going to make lifelong friends, connections with the ladies and the gentlemen that are also welcome. This is the first time we will have both men and women in the same class. Obviously, we're a community of women, but as the Black Swan has developed and grown, we do have a lot of very exquisite, very elite, very handsome, very amazing men who really want to be able to access Black Swans and understand that the only way that they can have a Black Swan. I think one of our clients said, I'm here because I want to be able to end up with a Black Swan. I was like, okay, yeah, that works with me. So for the years that I've been a coach, men have come and asked for coaching, and it's never really been something that we've offered, but in the last few years we've slowly started to introduce the men coming in. And because the Soulmate Attraction System course is designed for men and for women, that means that you can come as a couple. So if you are dating, you can bring your partner with you to this particular one, because we have had women say, look, I've gone through this, do you do something for my man, or is there something that you do for men? So this allows you to bring your partner. It also allows you to bring your brother, your cousins, anybody that you know is ready to transform their love lives forever. It's really exciting, because as we go into winter and towards Christmas, when we all want to be coupled and cuffed up, we will really do a massive energy shift. This 7 weeks is going to be intensive. The classes are going to be intensive, and we're going to go deep down. We're going to go there. We're going to go there in this group coaching session. And, we're going to shift some energy. We're going to move some energy around so that by the time you are done, you really are in peak state to really attract the love that you crave and absolutely deserve. Of course, I will be leading this particular Soulmate Attraction System course. The first one, I will be leading that. So I will be at the helm for 7 weeks. A lot of work, but I'm excited. I'm actually super excited about that. And then after this 7 weeks, our coaches, who were absolutely brilliant, if I were humble enough, I might even say they're better than me, will be taking the reins moving forward. Also, there'll be a big announcement coming up in the next few weeks, as there's a few transitions in the Black Swan Relationship Academy. All of you have been a part of this journey. You've watched the coaches come on board. You've watched them do videos. You've watched them, coach, and you have no idea the work that goes behind the scenes and the insane amount of work that they do. And that has been such a blessing to me, because obviously now they're incredible humans who do incredible things and change lives in the dozens. I don't think I have a client that has gone through their coaching system and hasn't sang their praises and been so grateful for meeting them and working with them, which tells me that it's actually time for me to let go of the reins and let those who are capable go right ahead and do that. Because obviously, I need to be here with you on social media, on the groups, doing media, doing press and all of these other things. We are going to a new level. The only way we're going to get to that new level is if we let go of old levels, right? I was reading a book and it said, if you can find people who can do the job 80% to 100% as well as you do it, it's probably time to move on. So whilst I will always be in the Black Swan Relationship Academy, working with the coaches behind the scenes and, taking a call or two from you beautiful people, your leaders are sitting right in front of you tonight. They will be the people at the helm taking you on the most exquisite journey of your life. And I am so grateful for their precious lives. I'm so grateful for their dedication. I'm grateful for them offering themselves to this work, because it is insane amount of work to stand hand in hand with people who are experiencing trauma, who have toxic patterns, dysfunctional behavior, to be on the receiving end as well of all of that, and to be able to hold space for people's pain, for people's sorrows, and to have the right words at the right time, the right training, the right education, and the right heart is a lot. And we don't do this for one day. We, the coaches, journey with you for up to 4 months, sometimes 6 months, sometimes a year. And in that time, you are in their lives, you are in their phones, you are their best friend. They carry you in prayer, they carry you in their hearts. And honestly, I think they just, I never thought it was possible to find people who would love my swans the way that these girls do. And I swear, I think they love you more than I do sometimes. Honestly, I think that their commitment to you and to your lives and to your future is insane. I'm so, so excited, which of course, like I said, allows me to transition to a role that allows me to go ahead and meet and get to those 1 billion women. How do we all feel about that? Are we going to raise up the Black Swan empire? Because I think all of the silly girls and the chickens and the ducks have had their day. What do you all think? I think it's time that the Black Swans have their moment. I believe that this is the era, the season, the spiritual atmosphere for Black Swans, for high value, high status, high worth women to begin to merge into the world and begin to attract the kind of love that they crave and deserve. And that goes for men and for women. So this is very exciting. So if you ever want to stay, once upon a time, I coached with Mama Swan. you want to be at this group coaching, because this is the only time that you'll be able to coach with me. And I intend to absolutely pour the years and years of experience and conversations and everything that I've learned in my journey, everything I've learned in coaching thousands of women. I'm going to pour that into the 7-week intensive. So you don't want to miss it, basically. Now, how are you going to get the details? Hopefully they're going to be somewhere in the comments. Somebody's going to put them in the comments for you so you can be the first, because we haven't actually launched on our website or any of the social media. So you want to be first. We only have seats for 20 people, and there are over 100,000 of us. So you want to be first. And because you've been so good at attending the lives, be first. Okay. So the link will be there. And of course, the socials are going to go wild and crazy promoting this event. But I want you to be there because I've got this feeling in my soul. I was saying to the coaches today during our meeting that I'm so excited. Like this, I haven't felt this excited about coaching and group coaching in years, because I genuinely feel that it is an ushering in of a new season.
Yeah.
And we are taking only the best and the most elite with us. And of course, if you cannot afford to be there, or your time does not allow you to be there from the 16th of September, don't you worry, you will have a chance to coach with our beautiful coaches. And like I said, you will not be getting less. All right, then. So I think I've said everything I need to say. If the coaches want to remind me in case I forgot to say something.
It starts on the
16th.
16th, and early bird offers. Oh, we're not saying that yet.
You can tell them. You can tell them.
And the early bird offers only till the 12th. So you've got about a week or so to get yourself together and get on that course. Are you going to let them know when it's going to be, or?
Yes. So you're going to get all the details on the link, but thank you for that, Coach Unique, because it will be up to the 12th. You will get 30% off the whole course up to the 12th of September. After that, it's going to be full price. So you definitely want to be first in. Mm-hmm. And if it feels like you didn't give us enough time, Chengi, that's because it was something that I made up and I realized and I felt compelled to do quite last minute. I felt like this is something I want to do before I say goodbye to coaching as I know it, and get swept off on another tangent. So it really was a last minute thing. So I'm sorry to rush you, but this is the only way that I can fit in 7 weeks in my busy schedule, because after that things are going to get insanely busy. So jump on board and let's get that done. For those of you who have already purchased the Soulmate Attraction System course, who have it, who downloaded it when it started in the middle, you have access to the Soulmate Attraction System course for the rest of your life. And therefore you will have all of the updates that I have done. My advice is for you to go and download the newest updates. And there will be a refresher fee for you too, that is 30% off. So you can run a refresher. So if you feel like the last time you did the Soulmate was 1,000 years ago, or you feel you want to do this journey, or you've never had an opportunity to do it at all, for whatever reason, this is your opportunity to jump on board. So again, for you will not be able to access that link. You will have to send an email to admin@blackswanrelationshipacademy.com. Okay, admin@blackswanrelationshipacademy.com. Let us know that you're already a student. We will check on the back end to see if you are a student already, and then we will send you the link privately. And for those of you who've never done it, you will be able to access it on all our socials, etc., and in the comments, etc., as we go along. So it will be 7 p.m. BST, which I think is 2 p.m. EST, and I think around 11 a.m. And it's going to be on a Saturday. So what you want to do is make sure you book all those 7 weeks off. Mm-hmm. I really want you to think about it as a holiday. I want you to think of taking yourself away on a
self-care holiday.
Self-care holiday. Okay. It's disappear for 7 weeks of your life. Focus on who you are, focus on yourself. And when you come out of that beautiful cave, you are going to be glowing. Your wings are going to be spread. You will have your black swan wings, and the world will be your oyster. I mean, what more can I say? We can go into this forever and ever, because you know how passionate we are about coaching, about helping, about supporting Black Swans all over the world. Anyway, let's move into our accountability stories. I have done a lot of talking tonight, so I'm going to let the coaches do a bit of talking. But this topic sort of came up recently. when we're really just discussing, we were holding each other accountable as we do. And, you know, one of us was like, listen, can y'all just hold me accountable when I'm just being a silly cow? And, you know, it seemed like I'd been having this conversation with the coaches, you know, who are also my friends, to be very honest with you. My coaches are my friends. So we were having this conversation as friends. And, you know, I was just recognizing within myself that for such a long time, I have held poor Yvonne by the throat, insisting that she correct me every time I'm about to do something stupid. Because for some reason, the people you walk around with who are high value tend to know when you're about to do something stupid. And I realized that, to be honest, for years, every time she tried to hold me accountable, what would I do? I would have a reason why I had to do it, or I would bite, or I would stonewall, or I'd make it impossible for her to tell me. And then I'd go with my tail between my legs a few months later, like, oops, I should have listened. But what happened for me was really understanding that I need to get caught up in my story. I need to get involved in my story. And sometimes when we're saying, please hold me accountable, that's a wonderful thing. And it's important that other people hold us accountable. But I recognized that I was using that as a way of escaping accountability for myself. I was already aware of all these things that I was asking her to hold me accountable to. I already knew what they were, but I was asking her, please take responsibility for my growth, and I had to release her and say, like, you don't have to do that anymore. Okay. If you want to tell me something and you feel I'm going to hear it, by all means, tell me. But if I'm going to, as long as I'm not going into a ditch, let me go figure it out, because I'm a grown woman now and I should know when certain behaviors are unacceptable. And so that was really the genesis of it. Now I'm going to just hand it over to the coaches, and maybe Unique will share, you know, her idea, her thoughts, and her experience around being accountable and how that's affected her relationships.
Yeah, I think, again, that this kind of came up when we're having the conversation about self-accountability, and I had an experience, and I was like, look, it's only, again, it comes from a community like this where you're able to express yourself. And I think with the kind of work we do, we're always quite reflective about ourselves. And it's only I think I realized that sometimes I show up a certain way, which I don't like, which no one else is going to like. And I put people in a position where they can't even talk, they can't even say anything. It's like this great big monster that comes out and like shuts all the doors and everything. And in realizing that, I realized that sometimes you burden people. People have got so much going on in their lives. Someone may be your best friend, especially when it comes to relationships. Like, say, if you are in a relationship and you're always going to your friends, go, oh, he's done this again. Oh, and then he's done this. But most of the time we forget that we are also in there, and there are things that we are doing to trigger those particular reactions. And it was in self-reflection. And I think that's how this whole conversation came about. I was like, sometimes you need to sit back and actually look at yourself and look at the monster within you, and accepting that. I mean, we teach that even within the academy, because we are we live in dualities. You're never too good. Sometimes you are bad. You're not always you're not always bad, but sometimes you are good. There's always things happening. So you're never in just one state all the time. And it's recognizing when you're straying from your authentic self and you're going more into your egoistic nature, which most of us tend to do. When your ego is the one that's at play, your ego has to always get it right. Your ego is the one that perpetuates your story so much. Like, say, if you have a story of, I have to perform to be loved, your ego is always going to perform. Your ego is always going to go above and beyond. You're going to be the nice girl. You're going to be the doormat. You're going to be all of that. But what then that does is cause resentment within yourself. So in being a nice girl, I have to watch when I start being resentful towards my partner. I have to watch and then create language, how I can then vocalize that and say, okay, I'm not comfortable in this position because I can see that I'm beginning to resent you for this. So it's when you're self-accountable, you recognize those little egoistic moves that you do, and you check yourself. And then that really makes you a little bit more authentic in yourself, because you're not giving an excuse, but what you're doing is, okay, how do I then moderate this? How do I make my friends comfortable enough to face up to my little demons? Because all of us have got them, right? So that's how I kind of take this. And then in you recognizing that, you become more authentic, you become more like, you start to own your own happiness and your own well-being. You're not led by moods, or because it's my monthlies this month, therefore I'm going to be catty. You start to own things like that, and you preempt people, say, look, I'm going to need some time around this time. I just need a moment. So it's being able to speak those things, because the person who's going to really see the most is your partner. They're going to be in bed with you. They're going to be spending life with you. So they will get to see the ugly of you. And if you're not aware of your own ugly, your ugly will end that relationship. And then we keep repeating the cycle, which is why we're in this job in the first place, because of all the cycles that we keep repeating because of our ugly beings. And they're okay too. I mean, it's okay to be ugly once in a while. But
Yeah,
but yeah, that's kind of my take on just being self-accountable.
yeah.
You know, there's a lot of things that you said they're unique. And whilst you were talking, as per usual, the Rolodex is going through my brain as you were talking. And the Rolodex hit on one of my favorite sayings, and that is, to thine own self be true. And that is something that we know it and we all try to do it. But here's the thing in what you're saying when you're saying hold yourself accountable. Unless somebody knows that they're doing wrong, they can't be accountable, because sometimes I remember a little while ago when Panyan came on, and Panyan was telling, her story and how she actually got to working with Chengi. And one of the things that she said has stuck with me for a long time. And she said that water spilled on the floor at work, and she went ballistic. She went crazy. And do you know, when that water spilled, that wasn't the first time the water spilled, but everybody said, oh, that's just Panyan.
Yes.
And people will always make an excuse for the things that we do. Nobody cared about her enough to take her to one side and said, sweetheart, it was just some water. Why did it bother you so much? Nobody did that, because as far as we're concerned, you don't even ask yourself, in the time when that happened with her, she never one day questioned herself that she had done anything wrong. Water spilt, it shouldn't have spilt, she went ballistic, end of story. How many times before we started taking care of ourselves and started doing the work on ourselves that we did wrong and didn't care anything about it? I remember years ago, you said about talking about yourself when I first, Chengi said something to me in the week, and it bothered me. It didn't bother me, but it made me stop and think. And why I could stop and think is because we're all working on ourselves, but you have to know something is wrong. And what she said to me was, when I first met you, here was this sweet, really lovely person, but the outside was as hard as nails. And I didn't get it. And I thought to myself, how can you be sweet and hard at the same time? And I was ruminating about it. I had a conversation with someone, and I think I said this to Chengi also, that, you know what, I actually get what you mean, because I saw it in a client. And I go back even further, and I remember when I was first got saved and I was in church, and this woman came over and she was speaking to me. And I didn't like her for whatever the reason was. I didn't like her. And back then, when you're young and stupid and you think you've got carte blanche to do what you like, when you like, how you like. I remember saying to her, there was a gentleman, Tony Butcher, Chengi knows who I'm talking about, was standing next to me. And this one was going off, and I actually stopped her and looked at her and said, why are you talking to me? I don't like you. And I looked at her and said that. And for me, I'd done nothing wrong. And she said, continued with what she was saying, and then she left. And Tony looked at me and he said, Yvonne, you can't talk to people like that. And I said, well, what did I say? I told her the truth. I don't like her, and I didn't understand why she was talking to me. It didn't bother me because in my head, I had done nothing wrong. Now, if I am the age I am today and behaving that way, I would have a lot of problems. But since then, I've had to learn. And this is what Chengi meant was when she said, there is this lovely, soft person on the inside, but we're shrouded in this hard shell because life has truly knocked a lot of us and life has done things. And unless when we see people showing their ugly, doing the things that they know, they don't even know themselves is wrong. They just see it as, this is how I behave. As you rightly said, Unique, we've all got that ugly. But if unless somebody cares about Chengi, Unique, Yvonne, Jane, Paula, Julie enough to call them to one side and say, sweetie, look, you've done this a number of times, really, what is going on? And if Julie or whoever doesn't understand or doesn't want to say anything, don't do it at work. You know, when you're leaving, I'll go with you. On the way going home, speak to her and find out what is really going on, because this isn't you. And until we do that, then nobody is going to, people just continue as they are. And we sit silent. And you know, the sad thing about when we sit silent, all of us go and talk about them behind their back, because you can imagine when Panyan dropped her, when I said to this woman, I don't like you, don't talk to me, I can imagine the gentleman went away and said to whoever, the people who Panyan worked with said all the things that, oh, she gets on my nerves, why is she always doing that? But nobody cared enough to say, what is going on? What is wrong with you? Until we can make that next step in the lives of the people around us, that is us taking accountability to help them help themselves to turn this around.
I love that. And, you know, it's kind of gone from this idea of self-accountability to allowing people to hold us accountable. And I think that's part of the self-accountability matrix as well. Because, you know, it's one thing to want people to hold you accountable, and it's one thing to allow them to hold you accountable.
Yes.
Some of us are scary, you know. And as coaches, we often have to address things that we think, so nobody told you.
Yeah.
So I've been doing this for so many years, and a lot of women are like, no one has ever told me. No one has ever told me. And I'm like, no one? Sweetie, it's obvious. It's in front of you. And that's what you realize, that love isn't just the people that cheer for us. Love are the people that you tap on the shoulder and say, hey, look, that's not working. But you can't be told. You will have an aura around you that says, I can't be told. And as long as you have that aura that says, I can't be told, no one will tell you. And what will happen is you'll just go into relationship from relationship and relationship sabotaging. That foolishness into your relationships, thinking that is perfectly normal. So for me, I've got a question for either of you.
Before you go there, before your question, something actually came to mind when you say the whole thing, I can't be told. It also then translates to I'm unapproachable. And you'll always get women saying, men don't approach me. Hint, hint.
Yes.
It is. It's an energy field that says I won't be vulnerable to correction. Look, if we're all going to be 100%, correction is embarrassing.
No one likes it.
It's embarrassing because nobody wants to think they're big people.
Yes.
And they still need to be told about their behavior. Because the only people we tell about their behavior are children. When you're now a big person and somebody's trying to let you know that behavior can't work. A lot, we have little things we do, ladies, that keep us low value, you know? There's some things, they're not wrong, they're not bad, they fit into culture, but they will never elevate you. And they're sometimes so nuanced and so subtle, because I truly believe the difference between a chicken, a duck, and a swan are really subtle differences.
Yeah.
It's small things. And I've been doing this for a long time, especially in the digital space. And one thing I know for sure is nobody wants to be told nothing. And people get triggered the most when you touch their sacred lamb.
Yes.
Yeah.
We all have our little behavior and our little thing that we're guarding for dear life. Oh dear, I thought I put on don't disturb. Little things that we are guarding, and nobody must touch it.
Yeah.
Nobody must tell us that way that we dress, it doesn't work. I remember having an avid follower. She was there from the beginning. She was, those of us who are on YouTube or social media, we all have that one person who's ride or die, started with us from the beginning. They're still here, still rooting for us. And she was one of those. And I really, my heart opened to her, because we do create a relationship with you in the comments.
Yeah.
We start to see your name appearing. We start to look forward to your comments. We start to look out for you on social. Then before you know it, you kind of have a place in our heart. And it's only a matter of time before we reach out to you, or we're in a meeting and we're like, why don't we approach so-and-so, right? And this was that particular lady. Beautiful woman. Anyway, I happened to do a reel, I think, at a time about twerking. Now, for me, we should all know, if we're Black Swans, that twerking is for private audiences only. If you can learn how to twerk, but somebody told me that when I'm walking, it's a natural twerk, so I'm just going to leave it right there. I wasn't sure to take it as a compliment, or I just left it right there. But I've tried. I don't know how to twerk, girl. So maybe I'm jealous. Maybe I'm jealous because I can't do it. Sometimes when you can't do something, you're jealous. Maybe that's what it is. But for me, this is not Black Swan behavior. This is not elegant behavior. It's not sophisticated behavior. It's just not what high value men are looking for, right? So I think it was a post, and oh my goodness, she was so offended, because she loved, and this was a woman, and I'm not talking about a young girl, I'm talking about a woman in her mid-50s. And looks like she's mid-50s. I'm not talking about the mid-50s that look half their age. I'm talking about mid-50s that look 50s. Has about 7 to 8 children. And every video on Instagram was her twerking. And so she was truly offended. And I'm thinking, how is it nobody has told you?
Mm-hmm.
Like, honestly, how is it that no one has actually told you that this is unacceptable behavior? And I don't think we understand the gift of being held accountable. That you can go for decades behaving in a way. Now, she was smart. She had a lot of great qualities. She was obviously a fan because she resonated to a degree with what I was sharing. But she had this little behavior that she thought was completely normal. Maybe her friends did it, so they thought it was normal. And I'm thinking to myself, I think somebody tried to tell you, but you can't be told. I think maybe your kids may have tried to say, you know what, Mom, maybe, but you can't be told. And then we think that we can take that attitude, and like Unique was saying, and march it over to a man. Right? And that man can't tell us anything. And if he's trying to tell us something, he's controlling. And but the reality of it is, okay, I'm a high value, high quality, high status man, and I am going to a gala. Now, you might know how to behave at a gala, but when I see you, I think, what a beautiful woman. Oh my gosh, I need to get to know this woman. She's just up my alley. She's the girl for me. And maybe you meet at a social event, and maybe that event, everybody's twerking, and then you join the party. Automatically, he's not even going to approach you, because he's going to look at his life. He's going to look at the places he goes, the cocktail parties he goes to. He's going to think about the nature of his friends. And then he's going to assume that that's what you do. He doesn't want that shame. And nobody tells us, right? So part of that self-accountability is really being able to say, can I be told? And hand on heart, can we really be told? I'm still learning to be told. But I recognize the gift of being told. And, you know, I am practicing every day to take a deep breath and be told, you know, even by my coaches when we're in management meetings or whatever, and somebody doesn't agree with me, you know, I have to breathe hard. Okay, because it's okay. I've understood that being held accountable and holding ourselves accountable is what actually makes us high value, because there's something your parents didn't tell you, and there's some perspectives that nobody told you. And I happen to have a little thing that I look out for in my body that tells me when I'm being triggered or about to do something stupid. And for me, it's my heartbeat goes at 100 miles an hour, and I have breath. And the question I was going to ask, you can contribute whatever you want, but do you know when you're about to do that thing that you know about? Is there some sort of red flag that goes up first? Because if that's not there, then you're going to go straight into the behavior, right? How do you know when you're about to do something stupid?
I think maybe not necessarily do something stupid, but when I'm being triggered and I'm about to act the fool, and I'm about to stop and I'm about to close the door, and I'm like, okay, fine, whatever, you do you, I'm gonna do me. Yeah. And I'm very good at walking away. Like, you cannot beat me at walking away. I'll close the door. And when I feel, it's almost like I wouldn't want to call it a stab. Yes, my heart, you know, little palpitations. And you almost feel like you're being a child being told off for something you didn't do. Because you just want to rise up, like, no, it wasn't me, and all of that. And it almost puts you to defense mode, and the walls go up. Everything, God goes up, walls go up, and you become distant. And I notice myself when I become distant, when I'm looking at a phone, maybe a friend calls me and I don't pick up. But you started again. You're doing your thing. And it's only more recently, like, and it's painful to face it. No word of a lie. It is the most painful thing to face it. But again, like you said, you take the deep breath and you go, and I think this is how kind of this whole conversation started, because it was me who had the little thing and was being told off. And in that moment of being told off, I'm like, I'm watching myself going into, like, okay, I'm retreating. And because we're constantly asking that question, why are you retreating? What does this mean for you? Why are you being triggered? You get to a point where you catch yourself in that moment. And I think I remember even during the conversation saying, you know what? It hurts to hear something like that about myself, but I'm willing to hear it. And then start to understand, where did this situation actually come from? Why does this person feel like I was being rude or ignoring them, or why did they feel like that? So there must have been something in me that made them say that, which we don't normally do. And that's how, like, we kind of started having the conversation about, and that's when I was saying, oh, can you let me know when I'm doing this? But most of the time it starts off, you guys only feel the repercussions after I've felt them. I know I'm about to act the fool. And it's in that moment where, obviously, now that we know we can do breathing exercises, you stop, you pause, and you breathe and allow people and give them space to say what they need to say without making them feel wrong. So I think in that moment, because again, it's a little bit fresh in my head. So in that moment, I just remember saying to myself, it's okay for people to have opinions about you, but at the end of the day, they are reacting to something you did. So what did you do to set off this? Because it's always a chain reaction of some situation. It would have started off somewhere. So what is my part in this? And I think when we look at relationships, most of us, I mean, especially the whole, which is what has allowed social media to actually pit women against men, because we don't look at ourselves like, what was my role in this particular situation? Why did this person walk away from me? I'm not saying that cheating is wrong. I'm not saying, I'm not condoning it anyway, but there's certain triggers. Yes, that person has their own story, and can not even go as drastic as cheating. Maybe let's go as drastic as they didn't call to say goodnight, and it triggered you. it triggered my abandonment issues, because I am that girl. I like my man to say good night, good morning, good night, and feed me, you know, make sure I'm tucked in bed and say good night, darling. See you in the morning. I like that. But the minute someone doesn't do that, it triggers me, because it's like you're starting, it's almost like my head goes, okay, he's going to abandon you. He's going to abandon you. This is how it starts. But you have to always go back to that feeling of, is it really true? Is it really true that this person is going to abandon me? They've been showing up, they're consistent. It's just one day when they were tired. Why is it now such a big issue? Why is it now? Why are you feeling ignored? Why do you feel abandoned? And this is like practical self-accountability, because you have to look at yourself internally first. And I'm the one experiencing first. So what you guys would now then experience is me moaning, is me complaining, is me lashing out and saying, okay, I'm done with this, I'm gone, bye. But because you're my friends, you're going to support me. You're like, oh, well, you deserve better, girl, da da da, all of that, what's wrong with him, blah, blah, blah. Not knowing that in the first place, I did not communicate that I'd like you to say goodnight. I have abandonment issues. And I think we have a problem with admitting that. We have a problem with admitting our weaknesses, because we think someone's going to use them against us. We think, by admitting my weaknesses, I'm guarding myself, and I'm protecting myself from the world. But in protecting myself from the world, I'm keeping the world out in a roundabout way.
Yeah.
What's the question again?
No, it's good, because you're just talking about how you identify when you're about to go off on one, and the process that you go through. And I loved when you said, before anybody experiences, I experience it first. And that is such a powerful truth, because there's nothing that we're going to allow other people to experience that doesn't happen within us.
Yeah.
How about you, Yvonne? How do you know when you're about to fall?
I think I should just say, first of all, is the gentleman who told me what I did was wrong. Do you know, I've never done it again, because it was a hard lesson to learn, a hard lesson to hear. And the good thing about it, I was young enough to actually deal with the situation. But as Unique was just saying, and I think of the things that trigger me, and my heart beats at 1 zillion pace per minute. And this happened a few months ago when I was speaking to someone. And as I'm speaking to them, for me, the worst thing you can do to me is shout at me, because I feel that you only shout at children. And to the best of my knowledge, I'm not a child. So don't raise your voice to me in any way. I don't care what it is I've done. If you said, Yvonne, you're wrong, tell me nicely. I will apologize. My hand will go up first. I will do all the things I'm supposed to do. But if I don't shout at you, then don't shout at me. And this person was really shouting at me and having a go at me. And as she's speaking, my insides are going 110 to the dozen, and I'm wanting to explode. The only way that I can explain it, because I'm sure we've all seen, if I was white, I would be beetroot red, everything, my ears, everything, it would be just bright red. My heart is doing this and I could hardly get my breath. And I'm waiting for her to finish so that I could really tell her. And then I heard God say, stop, now breathe. Now breathe again. Now breathe again and smile. Do you know, when she's finished, I said, you know what? Thank you. I hear what you're saying. You have a great day. And I'll talk to you again. And I promised myself not to speak when I'm angry, because when I get triggered and I'm angry, Chengi, I think, is one person who knows this about me the most. I never speak when I'm angry, for the simple reason is, once it's said, it cannot be unsaid. Yeah. And you know what? It doesn't matter how much you say sorry. In the depths of the night, when you're laying there and you can't sleep, your mind goes back to that. The ego will make sure you relive that moment every minute. So before I say something that I'm going to have to apologize for you and literally roll on the floor to show how sorry I am. You know what, let's stop the conversation. Let's not do it. Let's wait until we have everybody's calmed down. Let's come back and, do so. So there is a great deal of, I hold myself, and it's really a horrible thing to do to oneself. I'm getting better at it. I hold myself, if I hold you to 10, I'll hold myself to 100. If I hold you to 100, I'll be at 1,000. If I hold you to 1,000, I'll be at 1,000,000. I hold myself to such a high standard that I cannot keep up with the standard that I hold myself to. So when people around me, they don't measure up to the things that I want them to do, then I think it's unfair of me to then be triggered by them not doing it. So I'm learning, and do you know what? Being in this privileged position of being a coach in Black Swan, and it is a privilege to speak to the women and the men that we speak to, has taught me such a great thing that, you know what? Nobody's perfect. All of us make our mistakes and we do the things that we do. But here's the thing, when you know that you've done wrong, not necessarily to somebody, but even when you've done wrong to yourself, apologize to you and say, that was a silly mistake, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Look at what, and you know what I've had to do is to start making some kind of joke to myself about it, because I can put a pound to a penny that by the time I have done tongue lashing me up here, it would have been better if somebody had got a cat o' nine tail and beat me with it. It wouldn't have hurt so much. Do you get what I mean? So I'm learning, and I thank God that I know him, because he's my person that says, stop. We don't do that. Stop. And when you hear the Holy Spirit say stop, you have to stop, and you have got to listen. And it really is, very hard to hold yourself at that high standard, because nobody's ever going to, I'm not going to meet up to it. But yet because I hold you at 10, I expect you to meet the 10, which is wrong of me. So I'm learning every day, you know what? Not only cut them some slack, but cut you some slack, because, you did well yesterday when you didn't do the things that you were supposed to do when you were talking to that person, but everybody went away, feeling better. And the last thing that I wanted to say here, both Chengi and Unique said that when you talked about having conversations, and we don't understand the importance it is to speak our truth. Whether because it is ours and we're owning it. And if I'm owning my truth and I'm saying, look, I did this, and I know at the time when I was doing it, you say, Unique, you'll say, good, I don't want you to see my ugly, but don't say those words, you just go. Everybody's then standing there thinking, okay, so what happened? And you might have gone off to sort yourself out. And do you, whenever it is you get them, you may say sorry and everybody gets on with, do you get what I mean, what they doing? But how different would it be if all of us, when we realize we're going to do that, if we said, you know what, I'm feeling triggered at the moment and I'm not in the right place to answer you emotionally, so give me a minute. I'm just going to take myself off and, I'll be back in a minute. Just give me a second. And you go away, you do whatever it is that is necessary, and you come back, because you're now in the right energy space. Your ego is shut down, and now you can speak and let them know, you know what, sweetheart, when you said this, it triggered something in me from when I was, and we can talk about it. And when we've done this many a times when we were in the office, somebody would come in and we were having a bad day, and instead of work, we would spend hours just speaking about what was going on within each of our lives. And by the time we had finished at the end of the day, we had done little work. But as Chengi would always say, no, God needed this to be sorted. God needed that to be done, whichever one of us it was that was doing it. We were given the space to say what was going on within us at the time. And not only that, what I love about the way in which we communicate with one another is it's not done with malice. It's not done with, she gets on my nerves, I can't stand her. There's no huffing and puffing about it, but we, each of us, know that we have one another's backs. And not only do we have one another's backs, but what is said when we listen to what is going on, you're not being browbeaten, you're not being put down for feeling that way, having that thought or whatever it is, and you're loved with the way in which we treat, and nobody walks away when we are together feeling, oh my gosh, God, that really hurt. I feel as though I've been, beaten. Nobody walks away from that, because we treat each other with the greatest of respect, with love and without judgment. Because what I may be feeling, you may not understand it, but when I'm given the opportunity to explain it to you, you see it from where I'm coming from. And what I experience in that is the hugs, I'm experiencing the care, I'm experiencing the love that I'm cared for. So I now know that, you know what, I've got a safe space where I can come and share. But unfortunately, many women out there are not fortunate enough to have even their inner circle that they can go to and express, I'm feeling triggered today because of, and get a proper response to say, okay, tell me, what does that feel like? When the person said this, how did that make you feel? Where did that happen before? Who's done it? And so they can, go back and find out what has happened to them. And if that's the case, then we need to either get new friends or book a SWAN and talk to them, and we will help you. That always helps. Do the SMAS, because it always, and at the end of the day, it always comes back to SMAS, because as we said, and we will say until the day that God says, you know what, Yvonne, it's time for you to come home. Every woman on the planet over the age of 16 needs to do SMAS, even if you've done it already.
Yes, we're very excited to have our younger ladies. I mean, look, we're creating an empire of swans. We're just creating this amazing universe where we're tired of hearing nonsense about women. It's time for real women to rise. Okay, and that comes with a lot of accountability. But I love the point that you're making, Yvonne, and Unique as well, that look, we are so privileged and we live in luxury to be able to do that. Everything describing, Yvonne, comes with creating a community around you, an inner circle that can hold space. And that's why, again, I'm going to talk about SMAS as well, because the opportunity to actually make friends over 7 weeks of intensely opening our hearts and knowing that those people know exactly where you're coming from, and you can create a community around yourself that may be new, but, sometimes we feel like trust is built, with people that we've known for a long time. Trust really happens when we're on the same frequency.
Yes.
We're feeling the same vibration. That's why you can make a friend today that feels like they've been your friend your whole entire life. Because you're on that same vibrational frequency. And of course, it takes time to vet their character and get into their character. But as Yvonne was speaking, I was thinking, what a privilege, because we have created that community quite unconsciously, but consciously, because we're a conscious community. And we do have those moments where we just speak honestly for each other. And I don't think we would get there without that. And another thing as well that is really important that I wanted to say is that today I was sort of meditating and thinking, and I was thinking to myself, good Lord, elegance, grace, and sophistication, these are not things that are portioned to a certain type of people. There's no kind of, if you have less than £100,000 in your account, you cannot qualify for elegance, grace, and sophistication. Because sometimes we do feel like, you have to be bougie or posh, bougie as the Americans would say, and posh as the Brits would say, to be sophisticated and elegant. And I was just reflecting on my people, Zimbabweans in particular. And I had a message from one of the ladies that is in my community there that I support. And she's an old lady, she's a widow. And she sent me a message, just really being grateful for something that I had done for her. Well, God had done for her through me. And as she spoke, I was reminded, you see, a lot of people have accused me and possibly the two of you of not being Black enough. You know, I don't know about you, but I'm almost
now.
I'm almost like,
yes.
look, I don't understand. What do
Mm.
you mean I'm not Black? I mean, what on earth is that nonsense? Right. So I just don't get it, because I'm like, have you ever been in a hut? Have you slept in a hut? Have you cooked with fire? Have you
No,
been in
that
a
isn't defined being Black, though.
come on,
No.
you know, how Black that gets rather Black, I think, you know. I speak an African language fluently, you know, like, what are we talking about here? You know, so the people accusing you to be Black only speak English and they're Black, you know. So, you know, I get subtly offended when I'm told that. But then it hit me that it's because we're so disconnected from the root of where we're truly from that we don't realize that when I was lost back home and I went to the village, I was astounded. If you can look past the poverty, you will see a set of women who are graceful,
Yes.
who are dignified,
Mm.
who have insane protocol,
Mm.
who understand how to behave. I mean, I was there and I was flabbergasted when this little girl, I think she must have been 6. And, you know, in my village, she'd call me big sister. Should be a cousin in English culture, but from my village, she would call me big sister. And I'd arrived, and a sweet little thing. She walked up to me. She's 6. She went down on her knees and she said, "Hello, big sister. How are you?" Oh my God!
Right?
Humbled. I was so humbled by that. She wasn't worshiping me. This is the way we greet each other, by the way, for those of you who don't know, in my culture, we greet each other on our knees, and we greet our elders and the people that we respect on our knees. It's not worship, it's a show of respect, just like the Japanese bow. And she was so graceful, and I'm looking at this 6-year-old and I thought, shame on you. This little 6-year-old has mastered the art of grace and dignity. And she put on her best dress, by the way, because when you come from overseas or from somewhere else, everybody's so excited. They put on the glad rags, you know,
from the best
special shower, and they put their best clothes on because, you know, they're having a special visitor. And she had a little cute dress on, and she was so graceful. And I thought, this is Black.
Yeah,
this is Black.
and talk about grace.
Everything else that we're doing out here in the street, in the clubs, on the streets, that's not Black. Go back to Africa and you will see grace, dignity, honor, poise, elegance. You will see it in an African village. And I watched my uncles come, you know, from where they were coming from. And, you know, their clothes were worn out, bless their hearts, but they were men, right? They were men, and they were, you know, they came on and they were like, my daughter, you know, and what shall we do for you today? And they didn't have much, but what they had, they went and killed a goat or something. And then, you know, I mean, just order. People don't understand that Blackness is order. Blackness is discipline. True Blackness from your roots, from ancient Mother Africa. If you go to the village, not to the cities, because the cities, everybody is born into Western kind of camps. And I realized that what people are calling not Black enough is in fact the epitome of Blackness. The royalty and all things noble came from Africa. That if you look at true African history, we were the kings and the queens of this planet, of this world. We were the scientists and when women like ourselves who are Black swans, right? And Black swans are not Black. Black swans are women of a certain caliber, of a certain status. But when we are Black women and we hold ourselves to a high level of behavior and a high level of self-worth, all of a sudden you're not Black enough.
Mm.
And we really need to think about that and realize that actually I am the epitome of Blackness.
Yeah.
And being dignified and being poised and being elegant is the highest form of Blackness as far as I'm concerned. But that unfortunately takes discipline.
Yeah.
What Yvonne was talking about, what Unique was talking about, that introspection, that what are you doing? Stop yourself right now. That takes discipline. And instead of saying, look, I lack the discipline to become the best version to honor my ancestors and behave appropriately, we're not Black enough. What, you know,
and to add to that also, Cheng, you know, like how when you think about self-accountability and within community accountability, that is the African setup. You are accountable to your peers. You're your brother's keeper, you're a sister's keeper. It's so funny because we're talking about this earlier during the meeting, and we're kind of comparing like cultures when it comes to the whole, like, what do you call big uncle, small uncle, da da da. And it's all about protocol. And in my culture, I'm Debele, same as from Zimbabwe with Chengi. And it was the aunties who kind of held the hierarchy and called you to a standard.
Yes.
As a young girl, there were certain things you couldn't do without your auntie knowing. If you came of age, your auntie would take you aside and teach you about certain things. And it is that community, I believe, that Black Swan is kind of not even duplicated. Is because at the core of who we are, it's still there, of all of us. And if you really think about it, you're taught self-accountability. You're taught there's certain things that you can't say, there's certain things you can't do. You're taught definitely not to twerk in a club. I mean, we all wanted to go clubbing, but you knew you had to do it, you know, without your dad knowing, or some of us anyway. You knew you had to do it without the aunties catching wind, that kind of thing. It's like, and you knew you were doing wrong, but you'd also take measures to not be caught. That's self-accountability, you know, and you would take responsibility. Should you have been caught, you take responsibility. And I think sometimes we get lulled into this new age thinking of, you know, self-love is about more the self-exoneration rather than being accountable. There is that part to play, but when we talk about our inheritances from our ancestors, and even with being a Christian, you have a certain rules, certain laws, and certain hierarchy, certain things that you have to be accountable to. You're accountable to the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit will check you. Once you say, you know what, Christ is my savior, I've given my life to Christ, you will get checked. And it's not like we can't just be doing all the free for all. So there's always this kind of bring it back to the topic of self-accountability. And we always have to consider all of this, even when we're searching for a soulmate, right? We have to consider someone who is self-accountable, who, when you look at a man, he doesn't just open doors, but he is someone in the community whose people look up to, who his friends look up to, who, when his sons or his nephews are in a bind, they come to him, because what that signals to you is someone who is of worth, like, you know, who is really established and true to his core, authentic to himself. Because for someone to even hold that kind of position, they do hold themselves to a high standard. They do hold themselves accountable, and also accountable to the community.
I agree with a lot of the things that you're saying, because being, whilst I'm not from Zim, I'm from Jamaica, and I remember when we were young and living with my grandmother, you know, I remember my dad saying that when they were growing up, and as kids, you know, children will misbehave. And if you were doing something out the road and you misbehaved and you were misbehaving and you saw an adult coming, everybody would stand up straight and make sure, do you get what I mean? Because if the person saw them and went back and told their parents, they're going to get a hiding. And I think what has happened to us in the way society has moved on, and you know, you leave that, you come here, you then you know that you're not with the family that you came. Everybody gets grow up, you marry outside of your culture, and all manner of different things happen. That you had the accountability to those in hierarchy, you know, the aunties, the grandparents, the parents, because you know I could never, even now if my mum was alive and my mum called me, and it didn't matter where I was, and she called me, I'm going. And now, if you call your child, they're going to ask you, what do you want? You get what I mean? And those words wouldn't even as I'm an adult. A side note, years ago, we was at my parents', every Sunday we would go for Sunday dinner, you know, the usual thing that happens in families, and we were all there. And my daughter did something, and I was telling her off, and I said to her, what the hell do you think you're doing? My dad was sitting not far from me, and my dad gave me the telling off of my life till I sat there and cried. I was a married woman with a child. I sat and I cried because my dad told me off, and I couldn't even look at him to say that I was upset. And do you get what I mean? Now, if I said something to my daughter and she didn't, I mean, she's not going to say to me, you know, she's not going to sit and cry. It's more likely she'll just no. What she'll actually say to me is, "Okay, then, mother," and walk. And I'm thinking, I could never imagine of my mom telling me something, and I said, "Okay, mother," and walked off. Are you crazy? We have so changed, and I think coming here, I think everything where we are, you know, and the values and the things that we hold dear to when we are brought up in one, and then you come, you know, you're taken out of it and you're brought into a different society. You adapt to that as society. We bring our children up in, you know, adopting that. And then what happens is we end up being on our own because the aunties are not there in the way in which they were. You know, you would have to find somebody to look after your child while you go to work. Whereas when you were at home, there was auntie this there was cousin that, there was people around who would take them and let them know what the traditions and the values of the families are. And as our parents have gone out to different lands and different countries, and you're brought up in the way of the country that you're in, not in the tradition that they had fostered. And I think today our young girls and our young boys like that. And I think that it's a shame that if you took a young girl, if you took my daughter to Zim and presented that to her, and she would look at it and she'd probably say something kind of along the lines of, yeah, but that's them. They don't get it. You do get what I mean? And unfortunately, I was only 8 when I came here. And now I'm identifying as 35. I don't understand now that era and what happened in it. So I did what I knew of here, not of the culture that I had when I was back there. So it's fascinating.
I mean, I think we're discussing culture, which is fantastic. And some of you might be listening thinking, look, I'm not African, okay? Yeah. And I'm not even Black. So this conversation, I'm checking out. Okay. This is how we are. We meander into little lanes and little avenues, but to just bring it right back. It's not about taking women back to days of old. Neither is it really selling African culture, because I'm not the epitome of what is African. I am a hybrid, right? And but the key here is understanding that to really stand out in this generation of free wives, free girlfriends, cheap accessibility, just cheapness. There was a time when to stand out, you had to wear something super short and then everybody would notice you. Now you blend in, you know, I mean, literally you blend in. If you're wearing next to nothing, you will blend into your world, you know, in days gone by. You know, I think Yvonne and I were walking around and we saw this young lady and she must have been like 18 of that. And she was wearing these shorts. I mean, her bottom was like huge. Okay. And she was wearing these kind of cut bottom. I mean, I don't know what buddy riders, I don't know what they're called. I'm too old. And I was thinking to myself, good Lord, she's blending in. She just was blending into her world.
It's become the social.
It's become the new. So if you want to stand out in this world, then elegance, grace, sophistication is now the short skirt. Right? You know, being a woman who holds herself to the highest possible standard. Listen, we don't get it right here. I can tell you we don't get it right 100% of the time. I can tell you that you will catch me sometimes doing some things that I'm like, ugh. But the issue is to call ourselves to the highest version of ourselves. And that can only happen when we deal with our trauma, because a lot of this dysfunctional behavior, a lot of this needing to show you're behind for the whole world to see is nothing to do with
ego.
That's the ego. That's a child that did not get the attention from the sources it was supposed to come from. That's a child that did not get the love of a father. That's a child that did not get the attention of a mother, that was underparented, who now seeks it on the streets, in likes, in the social media world. What we're seeing is trauma on display. What we're seeing is neglect on display. What we're seeing is abandonment on display. And when we take that seriously and think, look, I am ready to heal, some things will just fall off you. Some things that need, that craving for attention will fall off you. And if it doesn't, you will not be able to attract a high quality man. I really hate to say this, because I would like to be able to do what everybody else does on the internet is, just be yourself, just live your best life and you'll be fine. You can absolutely live your best life, be yourself, be your traumatized self in this world, but you're only going to attract traumatized men. You're only going to have a perpetual experience of connections with people that are broken. You're going to have nothing but friendships with people that are broken, because the energy of traumatized people likes to vibrate at the same frequency. And there's something about frequency that means we're all going to vibrate towards each other, right? It's like these particles that are vibrating and they're going to gather. So if we're really ready to say, look, I really would like to be with a high quality man. I would like to be with a man who is attentive. I'd like to be with a man that is generous and thoughtful and considerate, like if Unique was saying, self-aware, holds himself accountable. You can't be anything other than all of those things. And I know you hear it all over the internet, but I'm hoping that on this particular call and on this particular live, something is going to hit you hard in your heart, and you're going to think, look, you know, I was just thinking before I came here that, you know, my journey started with being tired of being me. You know, it's
all have to get there, right?
You know,
you have to get to a point where you're just tired of your shite.
Your stuff, your BS. I mean, at some point, the Soulmate Attraction System course is not for everybody. It really isn't. It can help everybody, but it won't be for everyone. We're discussing that in the meeting today, that who do we want in our universe? What kind of person do we want? And the truth of the matter is, we need somebody who's tired of their own BS. You've got to be tired of being you, the version of you that you know you're better than. You got to be tired of waking up to the same you that reacts to things in the same way, that looks at the world the same way, because who you're being is creating what you have and what you don't have. And I'm excited because I'm hoping to really, through this journey we shall go through together. You know, what I'm promising you is a beautiful journey, and to lead you and guide you on a path where you will truly be able to address a lot of this stuff and meet yourself, because you are a goddess. You are an absolute goddess. You're majestic and you're beautiful and you're rare and you're divine. And until you meet her, you will be everything else the world tells you to be. You'll be everything else that you think you need to be, and keep taking L's. Okay. So that's all I'm going to say, because we're going to be here for like 100 hours, because I know how. But I'm just going to ask for your final thoughts, ladies, and then we're going to say our goodbyes.
There's something that Yvonne said about the whole idea of holding yourself to unrealistic standards. And the idea that when you're self-accountable, you could actually, as Yvonne's favorite saying, cut yourself some slack. And you're able to really evaluate where you are in life, because a lot of men that we kind of come across complain that women have these great expectations of them, yet when they meet them, they're not meeting the person that they want. And for you to really attract your soulmate, you also need to be aware of your own standards, your own, and be realistic about it. So when we're talking about this, it's not about, oh, all of a sudden, now that you be self-accountable, yes, I know what my thoughts are, all of a sudden the soulmate is going to come. It's a lot more work than that. And which is why we're inviting you to the Soulmate Attraction, the group coaching. And I can testify, because I started off, the first group that you did. And Shani, I think I met her from then, and we have been friends since then. So it's like, and quite a few of the coaches came from that whole session, and we've kind of done the journey, and you kind of start to look at yourself from who you were then to now, and to think the journey is still ongoing. The journey never stops, but you get to a point where your soulmate is not ready to meet you, because my soulmate would not have been ready for that brat that I was 6 years ago. And I can say that I was a bit of a spoiled brat. I was daddy's girl. Everything had to go my way. If it doesn't go my way, I'm going to have a stroke. That's the end of the world. I'm not talking to you anymore, because daddy has to sort it out. Because, that kind of thing. And when you start to be accountable for yourself, you really see your journey, and you see the kind of men you start to attract, because we're talking about that as well. You start to see the quality of men that you attract. Even if you go online, it changes. Like, I can't stress it enough. Yeah.
Just my final thought is to buttress what you're saying, Unique, and something Chengi said prior, is that when you're tired of meeting yourself, and if you are tired of meeting yourself, you should also be tired of attracting the men that you're meeting. Because if you're not tired of attracting the men you're meeting, what you're saying to yourself is, there is scarcity out there, because you're tired of yourself. You're attracting like you, but you want better. And you don't know what that better looks like, but it's not him. And the only way that you're going to know that is when you truly either wake up and look at the person that you're laying next to, and you're asking yourself, how did I get here? Or you're walking down the road and somebody approaches you, and you're asking yourself, is that all that is available to me? Or you're at work and somebody tries to hit on you for the umpteenth time, and you ask yourself, is this all I'm worth? And if the answer to all your questions is no, then you get online and call us. Because you know what? Not only do you deserve better, you've got to start telling yourself from now, I'm not doing this anymore. Truly, you're not doing this anymore. Don't just give it lip service, because you know what? When we pretend things are okay, the only person that's buying it is you, because those around you can see you're not okay. And it's not the thing about, there's the scripture that says, take the plank out of your own eye before you try and take the speck out of mine. We can see what you're doing, but you can't. And you're going to perpetually be the hamster on the wheel, and you're just going to keep going round and round and round. And it's wash, rinse, repeat, next, wash, rinse, repeat, next, until the day. And I would hate for anyone who's sitting here and listening to this, and 10 years from now, you're still listening, when you're young and virile, or even if you're identifying as 35 and you know what, I've still got a good number of years in me. All of that is great, but then you wake up one morning and you find yourself alone and with the wrong person. You're with somebody, but you're alone in the relationship. You're bitterly disappointed, but now you're too old to get anywhere. And when you had all the strength and the energy to change everything that was happening in you, you decided to yourself, you know what? I'm not ready yet. And not ready yet can be 20 years from now. And I will say this and will always say it. Do the hard things with those around you who love you, that can help you when you fall. When you're going through the soulmate and you come across questions, and we go deep into whatever your trauma is, and when you've had a really tough day with it, you need to make sure that there's going to be somebody there that you can call and say, you know what, I had a counseling session today, I had a coaching session, and I just need an ear. I've done, with clients, and I've called Chengi, just listen, I just need you to just let me get it off my chest. And I've had to say what has irked me about it, or whatever it is that's gone on, whether I thought I did right, whether it was good, bad, or indifferent, it doesn't matter. But because I'm still living it and feeling it, and one of the things that I would like everybody to understand is, when you're sitting with us and we're hearing all that is going on, we're hearing it and we're actually living it with you. As you're talking to us about it, as you're telling us what's going on with you, we're understanding and we're empathizing with you, because you know what? A lot of us have had things have happened to us. And the last thing that I'm going to say, just think of this. If God did it for the three of us that's sitting here, why wouldn't he do it for you? The only thing that you need to do is to love yourself enough to go online and book that coaching session that we've got coming up. If you think that the 16th of September is too long, then book a discovery call. We're here, ready, willing, and able to help you turn your lives around, where you're going to be bigger, better, brighter, badder, and bolder than wherever it was that you're coming from.
Amen.
Can I get an amen? Can I get an amen? Amen, amen, and amen. So much that we can say. I know we can stay here till midnight, knowing the three of us probably get off for another hour.
We've gone over time.
But I'm sure we all need to get on and do some stuff. But thank you all so much for joining us, and thank you, coaches, for pouring your hearts and really being transparent. And for those of you who are like, oh, these lot need to stop talking about this, we're not gonna. So possibly, if it's gonna get on your nerves, you probably want to go to another channel where they're going to give you tips and tricks and hacks on how to find a man. And then we'll see you 5 years from now. But if you are
True, very true.
You'll be right here 5 years from now, because trust me, been there, done that. I remember bought a course and they were giving me all this inner work stuff. I sent it right back, and 5 years later I was thinking, where's that course again? Because you always pay the piper. You pay the piper now, or you pay the piper later with interest, but the piper must
always a payment to be made.
And we are here to help you join this beautiful journey that we're on. And it's lovely because it is a journey. We all look forward to seeing you next week, Tuesday. We might have something a little bit more fun, maybe not so deep. Maybe we're going to talk about fun things that are jokey and laughy. Who knows? Let us know what you'd love for us to talk about. Otherwise, it might just become really deep and heavy because we live in the world.
We could go there any day.
But thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Unique, and thank you, Yvonne, and goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everyone. See you next